When the Dead Kennedys released their latest album, Frankenchrist, it bore the following label. The inside fold-out of this record cover is a work of art by H.R. Giger that some people may find shocking, repulsive, or offensive. Life can sometimes be that way. The poster is a graphic depiction of genitalia that has been on display in some European museums, but to me, it sort of looked like vegetables in mud. And I'd show it to you, but it's no longer available in the album. You see, a woman charged Jello Biafra and the Dead Kennedys with distributing harmful material to a minor when her 14-year-old daughter bought the album. This case was considered precedent-setting by many in the entertainment industry, and it finally went to court last week. MuchMusic's Erica M. was in Los Angeles, and we asked her to track down Jello Biafra.
Because your album, Frankenchrist, has a deemed pornographic poster in it.
Within the context of the record, it's very clear that it's not just supposed to tee-hee, there's some body parts or anything like that. It's the ultimate portrayal, to me, the strongest piece I've ever seen, that says here we are as a society, the me generation, the yuppie mentality, the people who would be willing to traffic in arms and genocide all over the world just to make a buck, that kind of thing. Here we all are screwing each other in more ways than one. The image had to be horrific in order to portray it as being the ugly thing that it is, so that maybe people would want to do something about it, get themselves out of that food chain. We don't have to be part of that food chain in order to survive and have some kind of fulfillment of the soul.
But just like junk, the price of being addicted to the Lord goes up. If you want to shoot up with God, you got to buy more and more of it to shoot up, or it just ain't going to be the same. Heroin has killed people. How often has heroin started a war? How often has religion started a war?
What they're trying to do also, the prosecution here, is set the kind of legal precedent where it isn't just the over-the-counter seller who can be prosecuted for obscenity or what they call harmful matter here, that you can go after anybody. The guy who sat in the office and had nothing to do with the recording of the record, they're trying to put him on trial. They tried to bust the owner of the record pressing plant that stamped out the vinyl. He was dismissed for lack of evidence, as were 3 other defendants, but we're still here. And so what they hope to accomplish is to set the kind of ugly chain of precedents where even if you walk out and get coffee for the director of a movie that someone else puts an X rating on later on, you could be prosecuted for the whole movie.
Guilty by association?
Yes, in other words, guilt by association to the point where people won't want to associate to create good art. They'll be scared, and for good reason. And anytime anybody is afraid to say or create what they believe, that in itself is censorship.
Now, what about yourself? You're the dad. You're supposed to be from the generation that is looking down on what he's doing, that is the more conservative. How do you feel about all this?
In actuality, I believe in a free society. And I raised my kids, I hope, to believe in a free society. I thought the arguments of the defense attorneys were very eloquent. And then I thought they really should be made by Spencer Tracy in a 1930s black and white movie, because I thought the generation just before mine got through these issues and resolved them, and we had agreed we were going to have a true free society with a diversity of expression for artists, painters, writers, poets, etc. And I'm just appalled to be sitting here going through the same issue once again.
As long as we have people who are uptight and have no sense of humor being given too much power, this is going to happen, though. That's why some of us who try to create something new use our art to fight those people. people. If anybody needed a dose of H.R. Giger and dead Kennedys, it was this prosecuting team. I mean, it's obvious, yes, they won't admit it, but they learned something from it too. That's what good art is art that inspires people to think, even if they don't like it. I mean, the argument the prosecutor made today was that because this album and the visual art didn't have a happy ending, it therefore was legally liable. What happens to Platoon, the film? What happens to Full Metal Jacket or Apocalypse Now? What happens to the documentary on acid rain made in Canada that the Reagan administration has forbidden to be shown in America? All kinds of media and our access to information itself is what's on trial here and in many other places. It's an organized attempt by cultural vigilantes to shut down our right to know.
That it's more difficult now or almost impossible to get Dead Kennedy records in stores.
Well, keep in mind they did not prosecute the actual record store that sold the record to the kid. They made a deal with the store. You won't get prosecuted if you withdraw Dead Kennedys from their shelves. They withdrew every album Dead Kennedys had ever made. And this was the Warehouse chain, which is the largest record store chain in California. Other chain stores followed suit, and we were having a harder time making a living. There's no more band. We don't perform, so record sales are my only way of paying the rent, except for the speaking engagements. And so this is a direct attack on our ability to make a living.
After the trial is over, I know that the Dead Kennedys have broken up, so what are your plans?
Well, there's been so much disruption and damage to my artistic momentum, shall we say, that it may take years to pick up the pieces. I see no music for at least another year or two because of all these problems. So I will do a speaking tour in the fall. I may turn up in Canada for part of this. It's sort of aimed at college campuses, shall we say. I mean, if G. Gordon Liddy is the highest paid college lecturer in America, someone's got to do something.
The eventual outcome of the case was a 7-5 jury vote for dismissal. Prosecutor Michael G. Reno pressed for a rehearing, but Judge Susan Isaacoff denied the motion and dismissed the charges.
It should be noted that the teenager told 3 different reporters outside the courtroom after she had testified that she did not feel as though she was harmed by the poster. She thought it was, quote, gross, but not harmful, unquote. And the mother said that when she had sent the complaint letter, she did not think there would be such a big to-do about it. The prosecutor admitted to the LA Weekly about a year ago that they did have other prospective rock prosecutions they were looking at and chose us out of the pile. It's not as though we were an isolated anomaly. It's as though they were fishing.
Still a hand on the